Several people are in the hospital tonight, but they're lucky to be alive. A gunman opened fire this morning at a baseball practice for members of Congress in Alexandria, Virginia. Among the wounded, the number 3 Republican in the House of Representatives, Steve Scalise of Louisiana. The gunman was killed and lives saved by 2 members of the Capitol Police Force. We have Fox team coverage. Catherine Herridge tells us about the shooter. But we begin with Chief Congressional Correspondent Mike Emanuel at the crime scene just outside Washington. Good evening, Mike.
Chris, good evening. The FBI says the gunman had been in the area since March, living in his vehicle, a white cargo van, and had 2 weapons, a rifle and a handgun. A gunman taking aim at Republican lawmakers. Eyewitness video reveals the moment of the attack early this morning.
A lot of us dove into the dugout and tried to get as many as we could. But then at that point, there was firing behind us from the security detail, the Capitol Police. And I started yelling back, "Are you friendly?"
Those on the GOP team were left trying to make sense of the violence.
This political rhetoric and political discourse that has led to hate has led to gunfire. I never thought I'd go to baseball practice for charity and have to dodge bullets.
The Capitol Police began returning fire. I do believe that without the Capitol Hill Police, it would have been a massacre.
House Republican Whip Steve Scalise was wounded and remains in critical condition after surgery. Staffer Zachary Barth and former staffer Matt Micah were also hurt. And Special Agents David Bailey and Crystal Griner were injured responding to the attack. President Trump reacted from the White House.
Authorities are continuing to investigate the crime, and the assailant has now died from his injuries.
Authorities identified the gunman as James Hodgkinson of Illinois. He was a campaign volunteer for Senator Bernie Sanders.
I am sickened by this despicable act, and let me be as clear as I can be. Violence of any kind is unacceptable in our society, and I condemn this action in the strongest possible terms.
Just before the shooting, one player said he was approached by the suspect.
Because he asked me if this team was the Republican or Democrat team practicing. I responded that it was a Republican team practicing, and he proceeded to shoot Republicans. You take that for what it's worth.
Members of the Democrats team stopped at their practice this morning to pray for the GOP players. House members were told that the congressional baseball game would go on as planned, and sources say that received a standing ovation.
We're not going to let incidents like this change our way of life or our daily routines.
It will be play ball tomorrow night at 7:05.
The annual games expected to raise more than $600,000, benefiting local boys and girls clubs and a literacy group, and Scalise plays second base. By midday, Speaker Paul Ryan addressed the House, calling for solidarity.
We are united in our shock. We are united in our anguish. An attack on one of us is an attack on all of us.
Moments later, House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi echoed a bipartisan sentiment.
We are not one caucus or the other in this House today, but we speak for each other in saying that we send our thoughts and prayers to our colleague, Steve Scalise.
Among the questions now, do rank-and-file lawmakers need armed security? Some of those who were on the field this morning seem shaken by the events, what law enforcement just described as a combat scene. And in that theme of unity, the Democrats team has offered to host the Republican team for dinner. Chris?
Mike Emanuel at the crime scene just outside Washington. Mike, thanks for that.